All right, welcome to today's report from DNTV.TV. I want to talk today about what everyone's talking about, which is four-letter domain names. LLLL, four-letter domain names. If you've seen our report last week, we talked about the different levels of premium names, what's in demand, what's not. We have four-letter .com names that are primarily what people are investing and speculating in. What's happened from this is we've had offshoots going into other TLDs like .net, .biz, .co, .cc, and all kinds of other ones. And then we've had expansion here into five-letter a little bit, mostly into five-number, which has gone through the charts, which has made people look for six numbers, which has made people look for seven numbers, and even eight or more numbers if you have certain repeating patterns. This has also given some value to the LLN space. We believe much more than the LNL space. We think LLN is terrific. NLL is a little bit better. LNN would be almost as good, especially if you get something that sounds great like L51 or M29, or I don't know any of these names, I'm just making them up. We've also seen very attractive patterns of ABAB, meaning something, something, and then the same two things repeated, even if it's letter number, letter number. So we've had growth from the LLLL.com, and we've had expansion into other TLDs and other variations, all trying to find what the vaunted Chinese investor may buy. So I thought it was a good time to go over some of the stuff we talk about at Domain University, which is domainuniversity.com. The classes will be up soon. All right, what I want to talk about now is we go to the board here at DNTV.TV. We're going to use the same classroom that we use for Domain University. I want to talk about the wholesale value and the retail value of a domain name. Now, I believe it's the spread between these two that makes our business as attractive as it is, because we deal in a very non-liquid asset. Therefore, a domain investor buys a domain name when it happens to be available for sale and holds it, and then has the name for sale and sells the domain name when someone wants to buy it. So a typical domain name, whether it's a one-word or a two-word or a geo or a number, when it's being sold at the wholesale level, it's being compared to all the other domain names that are available at the wholesale level. So this is opportunity one that could be bought for $1,000 that might be worth $10,000 to $25,000. And the domain investor is comparing that against opportunity two that could be $800 and might be worth $10,000 to $20K. And he's comparing it to buying a bunch of reg fee names at $20 that could be worth $5,000. And the domain investor is comparing all these laterally, all these opportunities. So he's not going to pay as much as a retail investor would, because as soon as the price gets too expensive, he says, I'll pass. And I'll find another opportunity that I can buy here and try to sell up here. Now, the second way to make money in domain names is to have the name that you buy go up in value. So this is October 2015. And if you bought an average Chinese premium domain name, we'll say LKMQ.com, and you got that for $800, and that's today's retail price, or that's today's wholesale price. And if someone wanted to buy that name for you, you'd probably want to sell it for $10,000 to $25,000. You would assume it's a Chinese company, they've got the money, because all Chinese companies have the money, and that's what you try to sell it for. Now, what you're hoping is not only does your name sell for this spread, but you're hoping that both the retail price and the wholesale price go up. That as the retail prices go higher and higher for four-letter domain names, the wholesale prices will go higher and higher. And that may happen, and that's jumping on a current trend while it's happening. We've seen these trends happen in the past 15 years. We've seen them happen with first and last names. We've seen them happen with dictionary words. We've seen them happen with exciting words on the end, like online or blog or things like that. We've seen them happen with city domain names. Then we saw a huge 7 to 8 year run where it happened with keyword search terms. exact match domains. And so those were going up. So no matter if at the time you bought it for wholesale, knowing you could sell it for retail and you had profit there, you also made money as the whole industry went up. But we've seen in some ways the whole industry go down, but domainers always feel good because as long as that retail number never goes below our wholesale cost, we feel pretty good. Now, if when you bought this name, you thought, you know what, everyone else is paying 800, but to get this name, I got to pay 900. And then someone else bid 1,000, and someone else bid 1,500, but you really wanted it and you paid 2,000, now you've paid up here, kind of in the middle of the wholesale and retail. And even though you're still going to make money for selling it at retail, you may not make as much. But because there's so much liquidity in the 4-letter market, you're like, that's okay, I'll do it. But what I want to talk about is what could happen going forward in the future. Because there's so much energy being drawn to these 4-letter names, and the wholesale price of this sector, I believe, might be in a bubble compared to all the other sectors, like city domain names, like buying names according to trends, like dictionary domain names. And those may be staying at their same ratio. Say it's a 10-to-1 ratio. Hey, if that name's a $50,000 domain name, I like to buy it for $5,000 or $8,000 or $12,000 or whatever it is, based upon the expectation it's going to sell. So, if the retail values continue to go up, this is still a great time to get into the 4-letter market. If the retail values start going down, as long as they don't go down below these little, maybe above wholesale prices everyone's paying, that's great. But I want to point out for some investors coming late to the party, you're competing against people that may own these names from the past where they bought them for 10 and 20 and 40 bucks. So in all their portfolio, they've got an average cost well below yours. They can afford to pay $800, $1,000, $1,200, $1,600, and on average, they're still going to have a really low cost. Secondly, so many people are getting into this market just to sell to other people. And the reason is we don't have a lot of sales in the domain market. Every week we report maybe 100 to 200 sales out of the hundreds of thousands of names that are registered. And when you have this much demand in an area and you have a name that you know you can sell on a forum or know you can sell on an auction, you're drawn to it because as a domain investor, you want to make sales. Even if you make them just a little bit above what you paid for them, you want to make a sale. So we have so many people coming in here that want to buy these names because they know that they're going to have something in demand, as opposed to all the rest of their names, where if they decide to try to sell them or call people or sell them on a forum, they'll never get any interest. Put them on a flip auction, they never get any bids. There's a lot of names like that, but boy, these 4-letter ones, they do great. So I'm going to buy one of those because I'll get action, I'll get energy. But the only thing I want to encourage people to remember, and I learned this from investing in the stock market and looking at stock cycles, is if we do have retail values ever go down, we're going to have so many more names owned at higher prices than would have been had we had a slow, gradual run-up. And what that means is all the money that's tied up in these names may need to come out. So as opposed to everybody wanting to wait and hold and wait for the retail values to go back up, they're going to need to sell. And if we have everyone selling at the same time, that could depress what would normally be a good wholesale value for a 4-letter domain name if so many people wanted to get their money out. But right now, with the people that are long, that's a stock term, meaning they want the values to go up. The people that are long 4 letters, what they're betting on is 700 million customers in China. Whether you say that's the size of the middle class, or whether you say it's really 800 million, or 400 million, or 600 million. Not only do they want to collect these assets that are scarce and valuable, but they've got to name things. And for their system of naming, letters and numbers work out great. So they're going to be a constant source of demand, so that even if you overpay a little bit here, you'll still be able to sell them and make a bunch of money. So that's kind of my analysis of the market here right now. What you don't want to do is just jump in there thinking that you can't lose. Because as soon as you throw logic to the wind, and you say there'll always be a market to take me out, you put yourself in a position where you may be sitting on a 4-letter domain name and not be able to get the bid you want. At the same point, and Shane Coulter said this best on a recent Domain Sherpa show, you've got to pay up to get something. So if you look at the existing status quo of the market, it's going to be priced so that you can't make money. Every good auction is going to be priced to the point where there's no deal. Because if it was a great deal, someone else would buy it. So unless you're shopping in a place where no one else is, you've got to assume that all domain names are going to rise to their market value. The only way to get property then is to overpay, and you're going to have to overpay more than other people who might be overpaying and be playing with house money. That's going to get you into the game where there is some risk. And then you need to be clear on your objectives. Am I flipping this to make money in the next 2 to 5 to 6 months? Or am I really waiting for this buyer to come along at 10 to 15 grand? And I believe that if you're really waiting, position yourself financially to be able to wait. Because one of the reasons these 4-letter domain names are going for $1,000 and $2,000 and $1,500 is we're still asking chump change for the value that a great internet name and brand gives to an online business that is either worth a huge amount of prestige value to a company that could be doing millions of dollars of business, or can bring prestige value to any e-commerce operation just by its short nature. We're still selling cheap assets. We're still exploring what they really could be worth. And when people come from outside our business, and believe me, there's a lot more people outside our business than inside our business. When they come from outside our business and they hear us tell the story about the power of these domain names and how scarce they are, and they look at the prices that we're talking about, they pay up at retail. But you got to position yourself to be able to stay. If you're a flipper, then you got to be really good at where's the marketplace that I can sell the name for 20 to 50 to 100% markup. But be aware of the fact that the more that we might be in a bubble at the wholesale level, because everyone wants to own an asset that's easily tradable, and we don't have that in very many other areas, that your rationalization is, that's okay, I'm still going to make money, just not that much money. But you definitely need to keep an eye on whether the retail market is staying the same, going up, or going down. Anyway, good luck out there domaining. Leave comments if you can, if you have any thoughts about 4-letter domain names. And thank you for watching DNTV.tv.